ó máa scarce. But ìgbà tó ti sọ fún wa pé new generation tó ń bọ̀ tí wọ́n bá stop ẹ̀ wọn ò ní lè mọ ẹran yẹn mọ́. That's why la ṣe stop ẹ̀.
We were able to train them on construction of the cages that can be used to raise fish. It costs low. It's also gender sensitive, so to say, because it allows female fisher folks. We train them, they all give up hunting, and they remove all the traps that they use to hunt the manatee. And they did.
All right, thank you for staying with us. We're still talking 44% of Nigeria's social benefits reach the poor, and that's a very abysmal number. And it's talked about the state of the social safety net in Nigeria, and disclosed that 56% of beneficiaries of government safety net programs are poor, and only 44%, yet 44% of the total benefit actually reach poor households. So where is the other 56%? We're talking about government interventions here, the school feeding program, the conditional cash transfer. Before this administration, we used to have the market money, we used to have the trader money, and all of those things. But now, this year, just yesterday, they are talking about the depth and the impact of these interventions from the government. And they are talking about where we are right now. We have been speaking with a youth advocate and public affairs analyst, Mr. Tunde Omole. Thank you, Mr. Omole, for staying with us. And now we are being joined by a development economist. It joins us virtually. Mr. Pedrick, good morning. Thank you for joining us. All right, and we'll continue with Mr. Omole, and there is this report, I think it was last week, that was said by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, where he announced that the federal government is targeting 15 million households, covering some 70 million people, 15 million households, covering some 70 million people via the digital cash grant scheme. And he disclosed that about 8.5 million households have already received at least one tranche of 25,000 naira payment, while the remaining 6.5 million households are expected to be paid before year end. 8.5 million households. And despite these, World Bank described Nigeria's social safety net spending as inefficient, saying a smaller portion of benefits goes to the poor despite the dominance among beneficiaries. And these are the issues. So that's from the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister for the Economy, who should know who is talking about plan. 15 million also targeted, and he has said, till now 8.5 million out of the 15 have received at least one tranche of the 25,000 naira. So the World Bank is saying this thing is not going to where it's supposed to go. The minister is saying this is what we have done. Mr. Omole, so where is the lie?
Okay, let me paint a scenario to you. There was one of the development partners that went to a community in Benue State, and he told them in that community that he walk around the community and realized that they always go to a stream very far in the middle of the night for all their young children to actually go and fetch water. So naturally, if you get to that community, what will come to your mind first and foremost is that water is their problem, which is what those development partners eventually did. They went to sink borehole in all the nook and cranny of that community. At the end of the day, they realized that the community didn't access the water. They were still going to their stream. So what they ought to have done much earlier, they did it later. They talked to all the stakeholders. They had some meeting. They were not still getting resolved. Until somebody told them that go and meet this other person. They had conversation with that person. That person now told them that it has been an age-long tradition. The way they build their house in that community, is that they build it that everybody will sleep under one roof. And you know, parents, they might want to have quarter relationship in the middle of the night. So they have agreed for third generation. It's a taboo for children to be seeing parents when they are copulating. So they agree, an unwritten agreement as part of their culture and tradition, that children will be going to fetch the water in the stream in the middle of the night, so that by the time they come back, they will have done whatever they want to do, so that that problem they feel it is solved. If you want to do intervention to those communities, you don't need, water might not necessarily be their problem, in as much as they need water, but how to educate them, enlighten them on how to build their home so it can ensure privacy is their problem. So most times you look at it critically and say, okay, you want to be giving people money. That's what you think. Fine, you can't rule out the political patronage from this thing. High level of sincerity, if you dig deep. But I realize that most of our interventions are not strategically planned. They are not planned the way they are supposed to be planned. They are not put in place the way they are supposed to be put in place. The channels, the approach, the strategies we are using is not working. And if you are using one particular strategy and you are using over and over again and you are not getting your desired results, are we not supposed to change our strategy? And that's what I just feel about the whole thing. We should forget about dishing out all these figures, all this number. What are the outcome? What are the impact to show for it? And that's what we are talking about here. We are not talking about what you are putting in. You don't always measure success about the resources you committed when you know that there are so many egos out there that are ready to steal that resources you committed. You look at the outcome of the resources, you look at the impact, you look at, is it getting to where it's supposed to be? So I laugh when some government say we have committed 100 billion naira to support whatever. Are we seeing it on the streets? So that's where we are having challenges.
Let me quickly come in here, sir, before Tokwe will come in. You know, I think this particular concern was identified in that World Bank report, where they talked about the issue of intervening on a household basis is not working. They said it's not working. There is no way to trace household. You're talking about household. Somehow, how do we even know the impact? Some households are maybe 4 persons in a family. Some are like 12 in a family. Some are like 6, and you are giving them the same thing. Actually, so how does this work? They're not talking about make it on individual basis.
Per capita, yeah.
Per individual basis, per person. And they said that's why the school feeding program is working, but they still raised another concern to say, as it is right now, that it's between the children in between at least class 1 and 3, primary 1 and 3. Yeah. That is not extended to 4 to 5 or 4 to 6. So if it's working, although it's supposed to be extended, the issue of the household, according to that report, is not working. Make it on individual basis. But the issue with the individual basis is this, Mr. Omole. Even during COVID, we were told people are being fed. We are talking about conditional cash transfer. And I'll be asking, maybe Temitope will know. I've never met one individual that have said I've received this conditional cash transfer. That is the issue here. World Bank is saying household thing is not working. The individual will work as far as it's working in school feeding program. So how do we connect these nexus? Where is the data? Where is the transparency? Are these not the issues?
Now, you know, I don't like dabbling into comparing governments and policy, but when we see policy of government that is working, we have to commend them. One of the finest policy I've been following back to back, because I'm an education specialist too, in as much as I'm a public health specialist, is the NEL fund fund. Look at the NEL fund model. They know that if they give this money directly to students, there might be challenges. They know that if they give this money directly to some maybe middleman, there might be a lot of challenges. Okay, on your phone, pick up your phone, register for NEL fund. Let us have these particular documents. How much are you getting paid? All right, this money, they check back with the school. And your money is paid into the school coffer. And the supports they are supposed to pay you on a monthly basis, you are getting it. And the money is paid to school. No stress. Everything, the problem have been solved by. Have you heard that there is one nail fund office that people have to go and queue? I remember vividly, there was a time during Buhari era when they were talking about cashless policy. People were just saying, so will you now be giving Yalagbado? You will now be transferring money to Yalata. Come on, Aboki where they sell onions now, get account. Now, when our people are ready to work, when there is no sinister and intention, when they are not trying to be clever by half or to reap all of us that are the lower rank of the social ladder or economic ladder, then they try to put up a lot of bottlenecks. This thing is very simple. Government, I keep telling people, governance, a primary 6 school set holder can run governance. It's just common sense. We want to give money to people, and we realize that we have been giving household, and household is not working. And Nigeria is not even the kind of society that you can say an household. We are not that organized to that level that you begin to count an household. You get to some people's house, you see extended family people, extended family house. We are not that organized. Our structure is not that deep at this level. When people are now celebrating being all by themselves, when people are not, the family structure has broken down, and you still want to be talking about household. Why not do it individual basis? Why not create platform for capacity development? Even if you are giving them resources, they can spend it. Some people might be giving that grants and go and spend it at Alomo Center, Alomo, and all this drink kind that they drink around. Some people will go and do it and use it for something that is not even beneficial to primary objective of it being met. Why can't we have a community shop around and you get your stamp and you say, okay, we are giving this person this social amount and they can buy all these products, maybe pasta or whatever, and you give them star and their name is at it, and what they have, okay, this is for food, this is for thing, is something we can do. Almost everybody has a smartphone now. Why must you give people cash if you are not having sinister the approach? By the time we realize now, maybe after their government has left the center, now we realize that somebody actually stole billions of dollars. With the same thing with Farouk. If you use an approach and it's not working, let's think about a better approach that we can cut off some of the bottleneck. Then the essence of committing resources will be met.
All right, thank you, Mr. Omole. At this time, we are joined by a member of the Nigerian Economic Society. All right. Okay, Mr. Omole, let's continue with you. And this report's right there in our bulletin of yesterday at 7 p.m. The World Bank expressed concern over Nigeria's heavy dependence on foreign donors to finance its social safety net. And says here, between 2015 and 2021, official development assistance accounted for about 60% of federal spending on safety net programs, with the World Bank providing over 90% of that support. Now, the report cautions that this dependence puts Nigeria at risk of funding gaps whenever donor support declines, like the ones we've experienced with the recent threat from President Donald Trump. Now, the question is, how can Nigeria transition from donor-financed, safety net programs to locally financed safety net programs, rights-based finance safety net support?
Okay.
Now,
that's fine.
Okay.
I think we're having an interference there.
We will reconnect.
Mr. Omole, are you there?
I can hear your question. I thought, okay. Now,
please go ahead.
Let me, Mr. Femi,
yes.
You know that I've always talked about this when I come to your program. And maybe you are not taking me serious because the report is not coming from World Bank.
That's not true.
Now, I've told us over and over again. Now, okay, let me explain the disadvantage of depending solely on donor to fund some of our activities, especially the social safety net program. Now, do you know that we might find ourselves by ourselves any moment from now as regards HIV intervention in this country? Because almost all the community components where we do awareness, where we get resources, they are coming from foreign donors. And USAID said, no, we are not supporting anybody again. Do you realize that as of today now, the only thing they are supporting is because it's medication for people living with HIV. They have cut off almost everything from US government. And most of the HIV intervention projects is either from USAID, from CDC, from wherever, almost 70% are coming from donor agencies, especially the US. And they said they are cutting us off. Now, they are giving us the grace that, okay, we don't want to cut off their ARV that we are, because people, if you go to a medical center to assess ARV drugs now, you realize that you are getting everything for free. Nothing is free under the planet Earth. Somebody is paying for it. If those people that are paying for it, they now withdraw, what do you think will happen to the HIV intervention in the nation? If you are not infected now, one way or the other, Madam Temitope, Mr. Femi, we are affected one way or the other, because the HIV is going to put a lot of strain on our medical services. It's going to put a lot of strain on wherever. People might start losing families because they are not on medication again, because somebody has withdrawn the support they are giving us. That's just to cite an example of us relying. And this has been one of the things that is going to be my advocacy as civil society organization in Osun State. Osun, we should commit our own resources to do intervention in the area of HIV. What if they now said, next year we are stopping giving it? They have stopped almost 70% of their intervention. Now, how do we go about it? Then we need to be intentional. We give people contracts. We give people contract that, you know, that you give people contract, they are making 50% profit on that contract. Why are we not having a trust fund where we are committing resources? Why are we not telling our contractor? Why are we not telling people that are benefiting from government? Why are we not telling philanthropists? Why are we not telling them to commit this also? Why are they not adopting schools? Why are they not adopting children? They are putting on. We have so many rich people in our society. Why are we not giving people tax holiday and tell them that this also amount must be committed to this in a way they will do it their own way that can reach public? Because if we commit it solely on government should just play a supervisory role. Now a single human being is giving Osun State a medical complex. I don't want to mention them. You all know who I'm talking about. A medical complex for their teaching hospital, just one person. Do you know how many billionaires we have in Osun State? Why are we not exploring? Why are we not encouraging the spirit of giving? Then why is government not being intentional about committing even the education? The standard for education is that our yearly budget should be 50% of the total budget for education and health too, according to Abuja Declaration. But what we have never done 10% before. And that's why you go to some of our schools, you see nothing. You go to some of our health center now, is something else. So if we want to stop this approach of depending, we need to put our house in order. Look at what we can do from inward. And do you know, before now, the donor funding, maybe in 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they just give us money, yafun. It came to a point, they become wise, and they were teleguiding, monitoring. They have jailed so many people. There was a place in Malawi where they give them global fund money that are contributed like a basket, and they give it for AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria intervention. One Malawian and maybe governments, whatever, went to steal that money. I even use that money to build global fund estates. That level of corruption. So, and the same thing is happening in Nigeria. Even the money they are committing is not getting to the people. So government needs to be intentional. We should have a strategic plan. Maybe, okay, how do we mobilize resources? How do we do resource mobilization? How do we get this thing? How do we get from tax holiday? What do we do? How do we approach? There should be an extensive plan for that. Maybe 5-year plan for resource mobilization, for safety net approach for some vulnerable people in our society. How can we do it? Okay, in our budget, how do we commit this also amount of money to these people so that they can, and as long as they are making sure that they are making things hard for the vulnerable, they too, they will not rest. And that's the reality.
All right. Now, there are many questions that have been raised here, especially the impact. Now, we have gotten to, you have identified some of these challenges and you have profiled some solution, CSR from corporate organizations, the rich, adopting schools, adopting children, and all of. Some will say some do, because you just mentioned the case of somebody giving the state a medical complex in Osun State. Some are doing that as well, but maybe we need more of those persons. And there are some organizations that maybe because of the antecedents, the history,
combination of these activities.
Yeah, all right.
We need strategy.
Yeah,
it don't be just a in the pan.
I'm coming. Yeah, what I'm saying is this: there are some of these organizations that because of the record of some mismanagement of funds, some would rather say we won't commit it to government, we won't commit it to some organizations, we'll rather do it directly. It's still a human thing. When you are doing it by yourself, it's still human that will front these lines. When you're giving it to the government, it's still government that will, humans that will front these lines. Now, the idea of announcing funds, because some will say, especially when you are close to or you are involved in budget preparation, budget performance, and all of those things, some will tell you budget being announced doesn't mean the money is being released. For example, right now, was it last week, the Minister of Finance, the same Wale Edun, disclosed that the federal government has disbursed 330 billion naira in cash transfers to poor and vulnerable Nigerians through the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office. We are still talking about our office. And so, how are these things not being monitored? That's my next line of question. Why is it not being monitored? Transparent. We've talked about some corruption allegations in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Still now, nobody is really being held responsible. And to the tune of billions of naira. Now, Mr. Waledu is talking about 330 billion naira not being planned. He said he has been disbursed. Who is to monitor these funds and its impact? Is it the National Assembly? Is it the anti-corruption agencies? Is it the Nigerian police? Because if not, the same thing that happened under the 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari, I think under Muhammadu Buhari, the only thing that Nigerians would say agreed was this, I think there's this 30,000 naira intervention program. I think I've forgotten the name that it was being called right now, where people do some certain things. Some are deployed to farms, some are deployed to teaching and all of those things. There's a name they call it. N-Agro or something, Empire. I think Empire program. Empire. Some will say it worked to some certain extent. Now, funds are being released. Who is checking? Who should check? So that in the next 2 years, Mr. Omole, when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu might have been done with his 4 years, all right, and now I've been told that we now have Mr. Pedrick Eluan. We are sorry for the connection issue. Mr. Pedrick, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Finally, we have you. We are so sorry for the connection issue. I just need you are involved. You are development economist. You are part of these things that we're talking about. The World Bank has released its report right now. Our guest, your co-guest, has talked about some of these challenges. We only have like 5 minutes or 6 minutes to go. I'll give you the next 3 minutes to just give us an impression of what we are dealing with right now. But I will start with this. When World Bank or IMF or some of these Bretton Woods institutions come out with this report, shouldn't we vet it as a nation? Does that represent our own reality? Let's start from there.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I'm very sorry for the connection.
It's fine. Please go ahead.
Those are part of the problems of the country. Inadequate infrastructure that will enable us connect to the far unreached population who are largely described as poor. The essence of social social programs of a government is to reduce the poverty level, the impact of lack of aggregate demand in an economy. And social interventions is expected to boost the purchasing power and increase aggregate demand to recalibrate the economy back to where it's supposed to be. That's a part of growth and development. And our infrastructure, for instance, you want to reach Ogula in Delta State to households who are unable to meet basic life demand on account of fuel subsidy removal, for instance. How do we get to Ogula? Naturally, infrastructures will help to bridge a gap between the urban and the rural, the rich and the poor, because infrastructure basically government, we call them public goods, usually undertaken by government. And where you cannot have a proper communication on account of Glo network or MTN network or the telecommunications we have in the country, that's the beginning of our problem after how many years of their existence. Having said that, I want to also say that these IMF remarks or statistics, in most cases, I as an economist, I don't always work with them.
Why?
Because they don't reflect the true position of the Nigerian economy.
Okay, so in this case, what is the true representation?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, please go ahead. She just asked, you said sometimes you don't work with them. So what do you think is the true reality? What do you think is the true reality?
However, what is real in Nigeria is our inability to get accurate statistics. Our institution that is saddled with the responsibility of getting the statistics, most cases are compromised. They don't go to the actual far unreached environment to get these information. And they just interpolate the data, and then we begin to work with them as a position of the country. It's sad, but also I would like to say that the autonomous market, unregulated markets in Nigeria also is one of the major problems that helps these foreign countries to come up with these conclusions. Unregulated market, for instance, in the Niger Delta, sometimes crude oil is being gotten through the back door and then exported, and huge money is derived from that proceed, and that money is never captured in the national GDP. If you go to the north, some gold mines and other natural resources that would have been a big advantage to the country are taken through the back door, and that resources or that economic activity is not recorded or measured. And so if you take a summary of all these unregulated market activities in the country, they constitute a greater perspective of our economic life. And so when these IMF come with their conclusions on account of the regulated market, you see that it does not reflect the country's economic position. So as a people, we must be first and foremost, our culture Nigeria now has corruption as part of our culture from the child in the womb. They will know that it is not a right to go to school and pass through the formal education system. They will rather decide to go to one printing press and get a certificate from the printing press and apply for a job, and before you know, they're employed. That is why you see people not having NYSC certificates, and they are called to
Mr. Pedrick. Yeah, if you can hear me. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's quite sad that we couldn't join you as early as possible. We are totally out of time, but trust us on this program. In the coming days, we'll broaden this conversation, and we will do our best to have you earlier and invite, visually, so that we can expand this conversation further. But we must appreciate you for your time and your take today. Pedrick Eluan, a Development Economist. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for.
All right. And of course, earlier we were speaking with Mr. Tunde Omole, a youth matters advocate and a public affairs analyst. Thank you, Mr. Omole, if you're still there.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. It's an ongoing conversation. And, there's much that we can take today. We should go. Let me talk about.
All right, thank you so much, the viewer, for this penultimate installment. Let's do this again tomorrow for the final installment of Moon Spring on Western Spring Television this particular week. My name is Temitope Ajichola. Have a lovely day.
All right, and I am Femi Ojo. We'll see you tomorrow for the TGIF. Thank God it's Friday edition of this program. You can have a recap on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television and also on Facebook at Western Spring Television, TikTok, Instagram at Western Spring Television. See you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria. Bye.